I never believed in ghosts or the supernatural. That stuff was for late-night TV specials and campfire tales, not for a pragmatic guy like me. Growing up in the concrete jungle of Seattle, my world revolved around spreadsheets, coffee runs, and the relentless hum of city life. Logic was my anchor. Everything had an explanation if you dug deep enough. But that all shattered when I inherited my uncle's old house in Grayport, a forgotten speck on the Oregon coast. The town was a relic with its narrow, winding streets flanked by Victorian homes that sagged under the weight of decades of salt air and neglect. A lonely lighthouse stood sentinel on the jagged cliffs, its beam a faint memory in the perpetual haze. The fog here wasn't just weather. It was a presence, thick and oppressive, rolling in from the Pacific like an uninvited guest that overstayed its welcome. I moved in last fall, fresh off a brutal divorce that left me craving isolation. The house itself was a fixer-upper, creaky wooden floors, drafty windows, and a wraparound porch that offered stunning views of the churning ocean. I figured it was the perfect spot to rebuild. Quiet mornings writing freelance articles, evenings with a book and a glass of whiskey. Peace, at last. Or so I thought. The fog had other plans, hiding secrets that would unravel my sanity thread by thread. The first few weeks passed in a blur of normalcy, lulling me into a false sense of security. I'd wake to the sound of seagulls and the distant crash of waves, brew a pot of strong coffee in the outdated kitchen, and spend hours unpacking dusty boxes filled with my uncle's forgotten belongings, old nautical charts, faded photographs of stern-faced fishermen, and a collection of seashells that clinked like bones. Afternoons were for exploring Grayport, the quaint general store where the cashier knew everyone's name, the weathered pier where locals cast lines into the gray water, and the small diner serving greasy burgers and endless refills of diner coffee. The townsfolk were welcoming in that guarded, small-town manner, waving from their porches, offering unsolicited advice on the best clam chowder spots. They spoke of the fog with a mix of reverence and resignation. It comes in thick, swallows the world whole, one old-timer said with a chuckle. Brings the chill right to your bones, but it's just nature's way. I nodded politely, dismissing it as folklore. One crisp evening, I decided to stretch my legs with a walk along the pebbled beach. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruised purples, and the fog began its insidious creep from the horizon. It thickened quickly, turning the air milky and muffling sounds. That's when I first heard it, a whisper so faint it could have been the wind rustling through kelp. Elias ... It called, my name drifting like smoke. I froze, scanning the empty shore, my pulse quickening. No one was there. Just the fog, curling around my ankles like fingers. I shook my head, blaming fatigue from the move, and hurried back home, the whisper fading behind me. The incident nagged at me, but I pushed it aside, diving into home improvements to distract myself. I sanded floors, painted walls a fresh eggshell white, and even fixed the leaky faucet that dripped like a metronome. Yet, unease lingered, especially at night when the fog pressed against the glass panes like a living entity. One sleepless evening, I turned to the internet, scouring forums and local history sites about Grayport. What I found was a rabbit hole of maritime lore, tales of shipwrecks from the 1800s, when treacherous currents claimed countless vessels. Fishermen spoke of the Echo, a spectral voice that mimicked loved ones, luring sailors onto rocks. Reddit threads buzzed with anonymous accounts. Heard my dead sister's voice in the mist, one user claimed. Thought it was a prank until I saw the figure. I scoffed urban legends amplified by bored online sleuths. But that night, as I finally drifted off in the lumpy bed, the fog thickened outside. The whisper returned, sharper now. Eliza ... Come closer. I jolted awake, sweat beading on my forehead, the room pitch black save for the moonlight filtering through the haze. My heart hammered as I fumbled for the lamp. The light revealed nothing, no intruder, no open window. Just the relentless fog. I lay there until dawn, rationalizing it as a hypnagogic hallucination, the mind's trickery in unfamiliar surroundings. Still, sleep became elusive, fractured by every creak of the settling house. Driven by a growing curiosity or perhaps denial, I ventured to the Greyport Public Library the next day. It was a musty relic, shelves sagging under yellowed books, run by Mrs. Hargrove, an elderly widow with wire-rimmed glasses and a perpetual frown. She peered at me over her desk when I inquired about local legends. "The echo? Oh, it's more than stories, dear," she whispered, glancing around as if the walls listened. Began after the Great Storm of 1892. The Whispering Gale, a clipper ship, foundered off the cliffs. Captain Elias Thorne, your namesake, perhaps, lost his entire family, wife and 2 children. Survivors swore they heard her voice calling from the wreckage, even after the bodies washed ashore. She produced a brittle newspaper clipping from a locked drawer. Headlines screaming, "Tragic loss at sea, eerie voices plague rescuers." The article detailed accounts of disembodied pleas echoing through the storm, drawing men into the waves. I pored over it for hours in the library's dim corner, the words blurring as doubt crept in. Was it mass hysteria? Acoustic anomalies from the cliffs? As I left, the fog had descended early, blanketing the streets. A soft, mocking laugh seemed to trail me, dissolving into the mist. I quickened my pace, chalking it up to paranoia. Life in Greyport settled into an uneasy routine, but the whispers infiltrated my days like an insidious infection. They'd strike unexpectedly. While I stirred sugar into my morning coffee, the voice murmuring, "Elias ... Listen from the empty hallway." During afternoons hunched over my laptop, typing articles on mundane topics, only to be interrupted by a faint sigh that raised the hairs on my neck. I began avoiding the outdoors after dusk, confining myself to the brightly lit diner or the general store. One overcast afternoon, I confided in my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, a grizzled retired with a pipe perpetually clenched in his teeth. We sat on his sagging porch, nursing beers as the fog lurked at the town's edges. "Heard the echo, have ya?" he grunted, eyes narrowing. Most newcomers do eventually. But rule 1, don't answer. Those who do, they wander off, eyes glazed, straight into the fog. Never seen again. He recounted disappearances spanning decades, tourists vanishing on beach walks, locals last spotted heading to the cliffs in trances. Official reports cited accidents, slips on wet rocks, rogue waves. But town whispers painted a darker picture, the echo claiming souls to join the drowned. Jenkins showed me a scrapbook of clippings, faces staring back, young, old, all with that haunted look in their eyes. As I flipped through, a chill wind carried a distant call. "Elias ... I excused myself abruptly, the beer turning sour in my stomach. Paranoia blossomed into full-blown obsession. I ordered security cameras online, installing them around the property with trembling hands pointed at the yard, the porch, the path to the beach. Nights became vigils, reviewing footage on my laptop screen. At first, nothing unusual. Deer grazing, waves in the background. But one stormy evening, as thunder rumbled offshore, I spotted it. In the grainy feed, amid swirling fog, a figure materialized at the yard's edge. It wasn't solid, translucent, shifting like smoke, humanoid but elongated, arms dangling unnaturally. It stood motionless, facing the house. Then, the audio crackled. "Elias ... Join us." The voice was layered, multiple tones overlapping in a dissonant chorus. I replayed it obsessively, enhancing the image, but the figure evaporated frame by frame. Hallucination? Digital glitch? Or proof? Sleep deserted me entirely. I paced the creaking halls, coffee mug in hand, jumping at shadows. The house felt alive, walls whispering secrets, the fog a constant veil outside. Desperation propelled me to the abandoned lighthouse the following day, a crumbling tower locals avoided like the plague. The hike up the cliffs was arduous, wind whipping my jacket, fog nipping at my heels. Inside, the air was stale, spiral stairs coated in dust and graffiti. I climbed, flashlight beam cutting through gloom, the structure groaning like a dying beast. At the lantern room, walls bore frantic etchings, names scratched with desperate hands, dates from the 1890s onward. "She calls every night," one read. "Don't listen, it's a trap," the children cry too. My breath caught my uncle's name, Elias Thorne. Wait, same as the captain? Etched deeply. "Forgive me, nephew." The voice is irresistible. The official story was a heart attack, but the date aligned with the infamous fog night 5 years prior. As I traced the words, the whisper surged. "Elias ... We're waiting for you." It echoed off the glass, amplifying into a chorus. I fled down the stairs, heart pounding, the fog thickening as if in pursuit. Back in town, I cornered Mrs. Hargrove at the library, demanding the full truth. She hesitated, then led me to the attic of Forbidden's archive of Forbidden's tomes. The captain's wife, Amelia, wasn't innocent, she confessed, voice trembling. Driven mad by the isolation at sea, she poisoned her children before the storm hit, then jumped overboard. Her spirit, damned, echoes eternally, luring the living to atone for her sins. She unearthed a hidden journal, leather-bound and water-stained, chronicling accounts from 1892 survivors to modern victims. Entries detailed the progression, faint calls turning to pleas, visions of drowned figures, an inexorable pull to the cliffs. My uncle's final page, the voice promises peace. "I must go tonight." I devoured the journal by candlelight, the attic shadows lengthening. Each tale mirrored my experience, the building dread, the isolation. As I left, the fog enveloped the library, and a child's sob mingled with the wind. That night, the fog descended with vengeance, smothering Greyport in an unnatural silence. No birds, no waves, just the void. The whispers mutated. "Elias ... Help us ... It's so cold down here." Pleas laced with desperation, now joined by infantile cries that pierced my soul. I barricaded doors and windows, stuffing towels under cracks, but the voice permeated, seeping from vents, walls, even the plumbing. "Your uncle waits for you." I phoned my ex in Seattle, voice cracking as I ranted about ghosts. "You're scaring me, Elias. Get help," she said before the line hissed with static. The whisper hijacking. "She's next." Alone. Terror gripped me. A compulsion swelled, urging me outside, toward the beach. I resisted, nails digging into palms, but the pull was magnetic, like gravity inverted. Midnight marked the apex of madness. The compulsion overwhelmed. I seized a flashlight and stumbled into the fog-shrouded night. Greyport was spectral streets deserted, houses dark as tombs. The voice guided. "This way, Elias ... Closer to home." It drew me to the cliffs, the ocean's roar, a thunderous backdrop. In the mist, apparitions coalesced, pallid figures, waterlogged and decayed, dozens strong. My uncle among them, flesh sloughing, eyes vacant pits. He mouthed, "Run," but Amelia's specter dominated a gaunt woman in ragged Victorian gown, hair writhing like seaweed, mouth agape in perpetual wail. She extended bony fingers, touch freezing my veins. "Join your family in the deep." Promises flooded my mind, eternal peace, reunion. The children ghosts clutched at her skirts, weeping. Raw terror ignited flight. I bolted, fog clawing like talons, voices swelling to a deafening symphony of screams. Branches lashed my face, roots snared my feet. I tumbled, scraping knees on rocks, but adrenaline propelled me onward. Amelia's shriek rent the air. "You belong to us now." Phantoms pursued, their cold breaths on my neck. I crashed through my door, slamming it shut, collapsing in sobs. But she manifested in the hallway, mirror eyes, abyssal voids, grinning grotesquely. "Forever," she hissed. In blind panic, I shattered the glass with a lamp, shards exploding. The voice fractured, retreating with a final wail. Asterisk sunrise pierced the fog, dissipating it like exorcised smoke. I packed frantically, fleeing Greyport by noon, tires screeching on wet roads. In the rear view, the town vanished into haze. Back in Seattle, I rebuilt therapy, meds, normalcy. Months passed. I convinced myself it was trauma-induced delusion. Until last night, an anomalous fog blanketed the city, unnatural for urban sprawl. The whisper returned. Elias ... We miss you. Louder now, insistent. If you read this, heed my warning, avoid Greyport. Shun the fog. And if a voice calls your name, plug your ears and run. It's not over for me. It may never be.